Jon Vargas, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
I should say welcome back, dude.
Yeah.
It's your second round back. But as we get started, if you can, please like, subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media stuff. We have to do this at the beginning. So thank you. Appreciate it. And leave us a 5-star review. Apple Podcast and Spotify. Thank you. Anyways, Jon, welcome back, dude.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here, man. We have a few things to talk about. One thing I want to kind of get into, actually, that you've been doing, it seems like you've been hitting it harder, maybe been doing the same, is Kambo.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you made a social media now, right?
Yeah.
Account for Kambo and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's I didn't do like a social media platform for quite some time, and then Kambo started taking off, and I really wanted to kind of give a little more awareness on what it is and the idea of how it works, because there's so many questions of what Kambo does. And I've been doing a lot more research recently in different studies. Right now I'm reading a book by a gentleman from France, I believe, or Italy. And he wrote this book called Kambo Iboga Ayahuasca. And it's basically the fact that these medicines are entheogens and they work together. So in the sense that they're not on the spectrum of psychedelics.
Okay.
And they allow you to take an experience through higher realms of consciousness to do your own self-healing. And in that state, you're able to find yourself a pathway to healing. And a lot of it is just a mirror to your truth. And some people call Kambo the great revealer for that reason, because, you could, just be doing Kambo and something comes up. I had that happen to me a couple weeks ago when someone served me Kambo for myself. It's like really powerful medicine, and it really allows you to step into a sovereign place with yourself and really let go. Dude,
so when you say your own truth, so, people kind of understand that. Is that, when you're saying truth, is that things people are dealing with that are deep down inside that they don't, talk to people about or confide in? Things trauma they've gone through, or illnesses or sicknesses. Is that what you kind of mean?
Well, there's two answers to that.
Okay.
There's one of them is, like for me, truth is, it's so ambiguous, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way I see truth is like, if you're in a street and you're seeing a car in front of you and they had a flat tire and they replace it with a donut tire and it's not running true with the other tires, that means it's out of balance.
I like that.
And so it doesn't mean that it's necessarily wrong or bad or whatever. It just means that it's not running true.
Okay.
And the best thing to do is to get another tire that runs true in its place. If we, as firefighters, we're going to check the rotary saw or the chainsaw to make sure that chain or that rotary saw runs true, right? That's one of our checks.
Yeah.
And, we can use that analogy for ourselves. If something doesn't resonate with you anymore, a relationship, a family member in your circle, you don't set those boundaries and it's causing a lot of turmoil and imbalance, you might have to do some change to that experience for yourself,
Yeah. So everybody knows I did Kambo with you.
Yeah.
I think it's been a few months now, actually. I'm trying to go back, but every time you hit me up, I'm like, dude, I got stuck at work or something's coming up. But I remember doing it, and, coming from a faith background, how I was raised, when you hear these type of things, it's like, step back, that's sorcery, demonic, and I was very open to it. And then after doing that and having that experience with you, excuse me, it was very powerful. It was very, very powerful. And for me, there was a lot of healing that happened. And the purging, we'll kind of talk about that, but I've encouraged it to quite a few of my fellow firefighters and close friends. You had Evan Nelson.
Yeah.
He came. He's one of our hosts for the monthly review on here, and it was groundbreaking for him. A lot of things that he had to deal with personally that finally happened, and he wants to do it again. And I'm a firm believer in it now after doing it with you. I remember you offered it, and we talked, and we, confided in you about some personal things, and like, all right, let's do this. I'm like, it's that simple. And doing it was powerful. Very, very powerful, and healing in so many ways I can't describe. And I try to tell people the best way for me to kind of describe this for you is to just do it. That's all I could say, is you got to go and do it and just trust it and just go through the whole process, And I know you said that a lot of people do it for pregnancy stuff or illnesses, or I know for you and I, at least, we've had some pretty good head injuries.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of brain fog for a long time. And even after doing that Kambo, that helped so much for me, because my neurologist was telling me, it's like, hey, 3 to 5 years, you had a pretty bad injury. And then, you know, I think last November, I don't know if I told you, but we had like, I was in a room watching my guys, they were firefighters doing their thing, and the engineer, I'm like, all right, we'll just walk around, whatever, make sure they're doing good. And next thing you know, I'm knocked out. It was a 12-foot vaulted ceiling, and all that, some of the ceiling had come in and just freaking knocked me out, dude. So those head injuries are no joke. And it's really hard it's very hard to tell people what you're going through, because it's not something you can see. It's not like a broken arm or a big cut across your face or something like that, or burn. It's something that's so internal. And for me, it was so hard to try to describe to people what I was feeling and going through, because I seem normal to people, right? But then internally, I was like, man, I'm off. Yeah, I'm not as sharp as I used to be, and things were just difficult. And they're all just like, hey, give yourself grace. It's going to take 3 to 5 years for it to really start getting back to normal for you. But man, that Kambo worked wonders. Yeah,
it's interesting, right? The concussion, TBI, CTE thing, they call it an invisible injury for a reason. And all these doctors, you know, they don't know what to do. And it's really, really tough, especially since each individual has a separate situation where they're having, you know, either hormonal imbalance, or they're having nightmares, they're having night sweats, they're having anxiety or anger.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And I'm seeing right now, from me being a TBI survivor, and for something like Kambo to come in and help me and recalibrate my entire system to where I don't have any more symptoms. I say I'm at like 90% of full capacity from a really bad concussion, you know? And the thing with Kambo is that I've seen a lot of the TBI clientele come in a lot more, and particularly like UFC fighters and NFL players have been doing a lot of Kambo. Really? I follow this guy in Texas who's been treating some NFL players.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and any type of like neurological issue, you know, it's just rewiring the entire system, recalibrates your entire system in a way to kind of help your body reboot. I mean, it's just across the board, it helps tremendously for TBI, and it's wild to watch the transformation take place, because it's not necessarily the same for every person either. And when people do come back and they're like, hey, I'm completely healed, I'm like, holy shit, you know, I just kind of trust the medicine and allow it to do its job. But as far as like TBI, a lot of people have a hard time recovering from that injury because there's not much you could do.
Right. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and it's the combination with Kambo, ayahuasca, and iboga is really beneficial for TBI as well. There's an organization called No Fallen Heroes, and they treat PTSD and brain injuries basically from, it's in Costa Rica, I believe, where they send all these vets who've been addicted to Valium and all these different drugs, and they send them over there to go do iboga and Kambo, and it helps them completely just reset themselves. Iboga is a little more aggressive. I'm still learning about a lot of what that medicine does, but it's really powerful, you know. And it's the people who are suffering, they go do this shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's because, you know, for me, my other option was suicide.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we're here today. You asked me to talk about suicide prevention. You know?
Oh yeah.
Because that's where we're at today in this month, and the awareness of that. And you know, I was just in such a disarray with myself that was the only option. You know, I didn't feel like myself anymore. Yeah. You know, I had a really hard time just being comfortable in my skin, and I couldn't even fucking think. I couldn't read, you know?
Yeah. You bring up you know, it's a heavy topic, and I they say it is not getting as taboo, but it still is taboo to talk about it. That's just my own opinion. And I know where you're coming from, because I've felt that way. You just feel like you're at wit's end. I can't help myself. I don't know what to do. And what I feel is the crazy part about is, you know, in our careers, we're there for people. Yeah. We're constantly helping and saving people. That's what we do. And I feel like that's a calling at some point, right? We're always helping people. But then you get home and you can't help yourself, and you feel like you're losing it. Like, so I know that feeling, man. You just like, there's nothing left. I don't know what to do. Like, my gosh, I need help. And for me, faith has played a lot into that as well. But my goodness, man, doing that Kambo was, gosh, it was such a, I'd say so. It was a life-changing moment. It really was. I remember driving home because you live in the same city as me. It's not far. I think it was like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I don't know. But dude, I just drove in silence and I was like, I'm going to be fine. Like, I'm good. Like, I feel so much better. Like everything just seems clearer. Right. Like there was a lot of acceptance that happened. Yeah. And even the purging that we talked about. And I think when I was purging, it was like neon or something like that, yellow. Yeah. Others were blue. It's really interesting. You told me everyone's going to be kind of different color. And now when you go through, you talked about, it was Kambo, ayahuasca. What was it?
Iboga.
Iboga. Is there like a 1, 2, 3? Is there a start with one and then there's a middle and then the third is like ayahuasca?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Kambo is the precursor. So Kambo, what it does is it not only just helps your body physically, biologically, it helps your body energetically. And a lot of times our energetic bodies, we don't really understand what that is because we're not taught what it is and what it does. We're supposed to have this electromagnetic field that's a bioactive field. It's about 6 feet in distance, like a normal range. You start adding EMF and things around you inside of the inner city, it starts to shrink. If you're stressed, you have all these issues. This biofield is not very strong. So Kambo increases that field, and it's been proven. And it also activates the pineal gland. That's why when you feel clear, that's what it's doing.
Okay.
So doing my different studies recently, and we're understanding that it's more than it meets the eye. It does things on this grander scale. So Kambo kind of preps the system in order to step into a powerful plant medicine like ayahuasca. And ayahuasca is probably ayahuasca and iboga are the most powerful plant medicines on this planet. You can do ayahuasca or you can do iboga. They're different for everyone. But from what I understand, you're supposed to do like at least 3 rounds of Kambo prior to even touching iboga because you need to have a strong field and a strong sense of an immunity system to handle that frequency of that medicine.
Okay. So say we do, 3 sessions at Kambo. Yeah. How far apart of this should they be spread? Like a week, a month?
They should be as close as possible together. You can make it. So, and this is all coming from the tribes who've been doing this for thousands of years. Yeah. And they say that the more frequent you do within a lunar cycle, which would be 28 days, the better. Because Kambo kind of has this full effect of detoxifying the body as well. And to get that full detox, by getting rid of bile, gallstones, all these things that are getting rid through your body by purging, candida, parasites, all that shit that's sitting in your body. Yeah, it's getting it out because it doesn't belong there anymore. So wow. I've seen like tapeworms inside some people's buckets before.
Get out of here.
Yeah, man.
Wow. You know what's that's crazy. It's great, right? That's what you want,
right?
And I'm thinking from our job perspective.
Yeah.
How much heavy? Like, okay. We just had a fire the other day. I was telling you about it. And it was EV, bunch of batteries.
Oh yeah, batteries. We talked about this, right? The
EVs. We had another, but dude, it was like, there was a bunch stored in this like a strip. It was like a strip center, center unit, and they're just stacked to the ceiling. And it's just putting all this smoke, and guys, we have to fight it. There's nothing you can do, and guys are getting, covered in that smoke. But those heavy metals and then all the plastics that are burning, all this stuff that we absorb into our bodies, right? We have our turnouts. And so people know when we go and fight these fires, we're taught to put all this gear on. So we're completely covered. We have our helmet, flash hood, our mask on, coat, pants, our SCBA, gloves, and all that's good, but we still get absorption rate. We're wet, all that stuff still gets in, and a lot of people don't. At work, when I was in training, they had me doing the cancer program. So I went to symposiums, and 90% absorption rate is in our groin, right? And that's where our reproductive system is. So how great is it for firefighters, my goodness, to come in and do this, to purge their systems and clean themselves out, So
I keep telling them, man, none of them want to come. They're always afraid, dude. I do, I kind of broadcast a little bit of Kambo and try to get some of my members to come because I know it's going to be beneficial. Yeah. They see how arbitrary it looks, and they're like, "Fuck that! I'm not doing that, dude." Yeah. And even if you have no medical problems, any health issues, and you did Kambo it's still going to help you because it enhances your physical vitality to where if you, the next day you have so much energy, you want to get out there and do like a heavy workout because it just really gives you like that pump, like this vital, like
your body
feeling,
feels new again. You feel refreshed. Absolutely.
Yeah, dude, it's really powerful. And, you know, unfortunately people who do come to Kambo, they're at their wit's end. They're really desperate and this is their last option, you know, and those are the people I treat. And it brings a lot of those people together, and you gotta hold a special space for those people, you know, because I've been there, you know, and it's
you have that empathy for them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's really harsh. And by the same token, to have this, you know, complete 180 in your health and be able to say, hey, I did Kambo and it got rid of whatever I had, Lyme disease, HIV, cancer, whatever, TBI, you know. Yeah. It's really, really awesome to have the honor to hold that space, you know?
Yeah. Now I remember when we did it, and I think Evan was trying to, he's like, hey, what's that thing that John shoots up your nose or something like that?
Oh, Hapé?
Hapé? Yeah, dude. I remember when we were doing it, and I think, I might be explaining this wrong, but you said if you're not purging correctly or going through the process, the Hapé kind of encourages that, right?
Yeah.
Pushes it out. And I remember seeing you do it to one of the people that were there, and I was like, hell no, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that looks painful, man. The Hapé, so can you explain Hapé?
Yeah, Hapé is it's a tobacco snuff, and not like the tobacco that we bastardize in America, but it's pure tobacco in its purest form. Okay. And these tribes, they've been doing this for thousands of years. Well, their one tribe will work with one Hapé medicine, and they mix different herbs in the ashes, and they kind of make this form of Hapé. And the reason why they do that is, Native Americans will always, smoke tobacco because it's dry enough for them to smoke it, but in the rainforest they can't. It's too wet. That's why they do that. Okay. And it's been kind of, from what I understand from indigenous tribes and studying them, is that tobacco is one of the first medicines that were ever used by humankind. So they use this as a powerful medicine, and Hapé is a really interesting experience because, the first time I ever had Hapé given to me, it was by Haley's mentor. Haley's my girlfriend, and her mentor is like, hey, let's go do some Hapé. I was really anxious. I was really struggling with some issues with my concussion. And she gave me Hapé, and it's like a slap in the face. It looks
like a dog.
Anything going up your nose,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's pretty intense, but when I had it happen, it was just like my entire anxiety was just like completely lifted off my shoulders. Like this huge weight was lifted, and I had this vision of a rhinoceros in my vision. I rarely would have visions prior to that. Yeah. And I was like, well, it was really interesting that this rhinoceros came into my vision. And then 2 weeks later, I ended up going to do hyperbaric chamber therapy. What? At this chiropractic office. Nice. And sure enough, their logo is a rhinoceros. So I was like, what are the odds, dude?
Right?
Yeah.
That's rad.
Weird, dude.
Yeah, I remember seeing you when you were doing that. I was like, let's go through this whole process here, man, because it looked painful at first.
Yeah, it's actually really beautiful. Once you do it, you feel amazing after. Yeah. And it's and actually the tribes value Hapé a lot more than they do Kambo.
Really?
Yeah, Kambo is more of like kind of like a hunting ritual for them. And they use it to help them hunt, to kind of see sharper and run faster and get past fear from being eaten by jaguars or whatever in the forest. So that's like their thing. And if you go to some indigenous tribes like in Peru or Brazil and you go do Kambo, they're just going to put you, put some points on you. And if you're, acting like a fool, they'll kind of throw you in the river.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool water therapy, dude. Slap you back to shape real quick.
Yeah. Wild stuff, dude.
No, okay, so what if somebody doesn't do a series of Kambo or anything and they go straight to ayahuasca? Is that frowned upon? Is it still okay?
You can still do that. It's just
experience will be different, I would imagine.
Think you can have a limited experience because what Kambo prepares you for is going to have that frequency intake that's allowing you to have the best experience you could have. Okay. Because a lot of times people will go do ayahuasca. Ayahuasca makes you purge too. Yeah. Because, if you're not holding that medicine down, it's going to make you sick. So I know if you're getting everything out prior with Kambo, you're able to hold that in and you're able to have a better experience through that, that ceremony or however you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've talked to people that have done ayahuasca, but they haven't done Kambo.
Yeah.
And they talked about
it's pretty common.
Purging and all that stuff, but it makes sense now, kind of the progression and going and doing all that. But now I remember we talked about it a few times. There are females that come in for pregnancy issues.
Yes.
So is it kind of one of those things where it helps clear their system?
Yeah, women have a different relationship with Kambo.
Okay.
And for some reason, a lot of women will come and actually the way Kambo was introduced to me was through a group of women. And the first woman who had done Kambo that Haley had found out through is that she had these issues with PCOS. She had a cyst on her ovaries, and she just had a ton of problems with her menstrual cycle. It was always out of whack.
Yeah.
And she had done a series of Kambo to where the doctor had seen her 6 months later, did a pap smear, and was like, I don't know what you're doing, but there's nothing here anymore. So whatever you're doing,
let's go,
keep continuing
dude.
Kambo.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So would you say are you kind of getting, how do you so you give Kambo? What do you say that when you're someone who gives someone Kambo? You're not like a medicine doctor.
Oh, you're serving it to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get more females coming in or males, or is it a good mixture of both?
At first, I was serving a lot of women at the beginning, and then because of my field is working with men, now it's been a lot more of like a male clientele base.
Yeah.
But it always changes. It's always up and down. But it's really powerful. I mean, my second time doing Kambo was in a room with 15 women.
Oh, you're the only guy?
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's just, it changes, and I think a lot of women were more open to it. Usually a lot of men are just more rigid with their thinking, their belief systems, set in their ways, less open with their ability to change. Mm-hmm. And for something like this, it's a surrendering experience, it's vulnerable.
Yeah. You know what, man? You just said a key word that I've been really trying to work on since Kambo. Mm. It really stuck out to me because we started and you told me that a lot of firefighters that come in have a hard time the first time because they can't surrender. And I remember telling myself that the whole time. And then you gave me Kambo and doing a thing. And I remember you just come up like, Tim, just surrender. I remember telling myself, I got a little emotional too because I don't know. I don't want to say just as a guy, but for me, that was hard.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but it's almost like you're having to let go of everything and be like, have no control. Mm-hmm. Right. And we're taught to be in control. Mm-hmm. Take control of the scene, do this, pull hose here, cut the person out of the car here. This is why we train, right? We're stay sharp with the tip end of the spear. And gosh, to sit back and not have control can be a little, I'll be real, it can be a little frightening, right? It's a little uneasy. You're kind of like, oh dude, like what's going to happen? But man, that stuck out to me so much, surrender. And I think it really helped me in that process, but it's also helped me, I would say, in my own life, at work, my personal life, in my own faith walk, is surrender, right? Is giving up of, to me, I always keep telling myself, just giving of self, right? Letting go of self and just go with the day, man. Yeah. Let it be what it's going to be. Like what's going to happen is going to happen. But I mean, even to the point where it's like, I may work with company officers or people I don't like, right? But they're in a position of authority. Surrender and do your job. You're supposed to do what you need to do. Relationships, right? It's dying of self and surrendering back and forth, man. I mean, relationships are tough. We all know that, even with family. And that surrender, that was such a key moment for me. Am I good at that? No. Do I try? Yes. But I say that's such a key point. I really feel like people need to understand is surrender is a huge thing in their life. And even when they're doing Kambo, man. And hopefully with the people that listen to this podcast, they give it a shot. Either with you, somebody else, I don't know. But it was such a great moment for me because there was a lot of, for me, regret I was dealing with, a lot of emotional pain, internal pain with the brain injury. And it was just like, it was lifted. And ever since then, I've been on a pretty good path. There's still been hard things I've dealt with. I mean, life is life, right? Yeah. Bad things happen that are out of your control. Maybe they're in your control. You made bad decisions. I don't know. But my goodness, it set me on such a good path. And I'm trying to get back there. But as you know, I'm busy as heck, dude.
Yeah.
Scheduling, get all this stuff done. But it was really good to have Evan there. And, I'm a full supporter of what you're doing. I really, really hope that we get more of our first responders, fire, police, EMS, nurses, doctors, even military to do this. And here's a question for you too. And maybe it's also because of the Western way we do things, right? Religion and faith and all this stuff. But why do you think some people are so like, stand back, it's Kambo, like, that's sorcery or something like that, you know?
Because they don't understand it. A lot of people are threatened by things they don't understand, you know, and so it's why I kind of have this Instagram platform.
Yeah.
And to give you a better insight, you know, because if you think about our bodies carry things. The only way to find healing is to get them out somehow. And if you're, instead of, you know, seeing it as, you know, this such a strange or nasty thing, you just realize that this is just how our bodies work. You know, when you're having the flu, it's the same exact thing of a virus. You're having these moments of clearing of your system. But the powerful thing about these powerful medicines is that they speak to your heart. And once you're in that experience, you're able to find out what that is for you. Because a lot of times we think through a linear level and our hearts don't think that way. Our hearts are multidimensional to the point where, you know, there's intuitive space there sitting in the middle of our chest.
Yeah.
That, and once you connect to it, you're able to manifest your life in such a way to where you're expanding beyond these, you know, these conditions, these belief systems that you're limited to. And the more you tap into that space with the assistance of these medicines, you really have a rapid process of evolution. And I think through Western society, we're so linear and logical the way we go about things.
Yeah.
And
I absolutely agree with you on that one.
You know, like if you go to these tribes and stuff, like they treat life differently. You know, they look at creation as the greatest teacher, and they don't see themselves superior to that. You know, they see themselves as one with nature, as a cycle of things.
Yeah.
You know, even with the seasons, you know, like, you know, fall, winter, spring, and summer, it's like there's always a death and rebirth process to that. And to understand it, it doesn't mean that it's a start to an end. It just means that it's a cycle. And if we see ourselves in that same way, it doesn't mean that it's good or bad. And that's why people do end up down this dark road of suicide, because they say, oh, this is the end.
Yeah.
And actually, it could be the possibility that is the start of a new beginning, but they don't understand what that is. So,
oh man.
And we talk about surrender, right?
Yeah.
And surrender to me has become one of my greatest understandings and teachers, because there's different layers to it. And the deeper I go into those layers, the deeper I just lose my grip and let go. Because the harder I'm holding on to something, the more harm it's causing me.
Wow.
And so,
bell again. So that was good.
If I am detached, you know, and non-reactive, and I'm more attentive to the situation, being present, now I'm able to approach something at a different scale. And now I'm able to make that decision. Hey, am I accessing this point from my logical mind, my ego sense, or is it from my heart space? Oof. You know, so
those are tough questions. And I think a lot of people can't ask themselves that.
It's hard, dude. You know, I go through it every single time, you know, and when this last time I was served Kambo, this woman who serves me, she's a very powerful woman, and she holds like this space. It's very motherly and very, very wonderful. And I had this moment of understanding what like fear meant to me on a certain scale. You know, it was just like that it's an illusion, and surrendering to the illusion, but also making a stand for yourself to not walk into the fear as well is different, you know. But I always think of fear as like this. I think there is a guy named Zig Ziglar. He's like this motivational speaker from the 70s. He calls it false evidence appearing real, as like an acronym, right?
Yeah.
Because it is an illusion. You know, we create these things, these inner struggles and the suffering. And in the end, when you look at it straight face to face, you realize there's nothing to be afraid of. And a lot of times, if you're down that road of being so fearful, go through it, because that's the only way. You can't walk around it or tiptoe around it, because it's not going to work, dude. You know, it takes a lot of surrendering to that idea, because you're getting caught up with yourself. You're digging yourself a hole of karma.
Yeah. Dang, Jon, you're a deep human being. I love it, dog.
Dude, trust me, man, I was dragged into this path. Like my life became so it basically was shattered, you know.
Yeah.
My idea of who I was shattered. And as I began to see that, you know, everything happened for this purpose to serve humanity, you know, and in this line of work, helping, you know, the great men and women who serve humanity. Yeah. That is my path. And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of kindness with myself and trust. And also, being able to open my heart in a world of hell. It's one of the hardest things, brother.
It is. Oh yeah, dude, it is.
And then apathy creeps in through the call volume. Working in one of the busiest cities in the entire nation, man. It's like,
you ain't kidding, son.
It's fucking hard, dude.
Yeah.
And I get reactive sometimes. And I had the other day, this patient tried to fight me, dude. And I was just like, what the fuck's going on right now, dude? I don't know what to do. But
right, like, we're here to help you.
I have to also make sure I have, boundary for myself, and there's a way of going about it, and it's a challenge, dude. This job challenges us,
Yeah. You brought up another good point too. Excuse me, boundaries. And that's something I've had to learn the hard way. Understanding where your boundaries are at, where you need to say no. And it's okay to say no.
Or when to rest.
Yeah, dude, that's a big one for me, dog. That's a big one for me. Rest. And I've been learning that, I would say over the past year and a half. It's good for me to take time to myself. A lot of times when I get off duty, I go straight to the beach, surf, or I go straight to mountain biking or something like that, or cycling. And that's like my time, dude. I'm away, and I can kind of get the frustration out from work or whatever it may be to finally come back to the center and being who I am. And I always feel so much better when I get home. Instead of just coming straight home, I feel like I have this nervous energy, You're just kind of like, oh, God, I got to do something,
Right.
So rest and taking time to myself has been huge. It's been healing, actually, really, in many, many ways, man. I got off, I've told you, this is the first 4 day I've had off in a long time because we've just been getting force hired a lot.
Yeah.
And so people know what that is. In our line of work, if somebody calls off sick or there's nobody in a position, you can't go home. You're stuck at work. So you can be there for 3 or 4 days, man. It's just like, your plans are gone. But it is what it is. I really hope that we can keep pushing this, at least you, as far as contact for people. And I've been telling guys in my department to give it a shot. Whether they've reached out or not, I don't know. At least we got Evan on there. But it's a good thing. It really is a good thing. And it opened my eyes to a lot. And I'm glad I was open to it. Because the way I was raised, like I said, it was like, well, you just have God and that's all you need.
Right.
I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, but he also put certain things in the earth for us to use that are going to help. Exactly. That, that's good for us. It's not bad in a controlled environment.
Yeah, for sure.
So hopefully that starts getting more or less taboo, more modernized, and people start to understand it's not something that's witchcraft or of the devil. It's actually very good for you in healing. I tried to explain it to my mom. She was like, dude, that was a whole conversation that went totally south. Like, yeah, I thought you believed in God.
Like, trust me, my mom does the same thing, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I do. It's not anything crazy. It's like, I'm not doing cocaine, man. Like, relax. But it's all good. Well, dude, another thing I want to talk about, because we're in September, which is Suicide Prevention Month, and it's a big deal in public service, as you know. And I had some statistics, actually. You probably already knew some of these, but the U.S. Fire Administration, okay, this is from 2015 through 2017. Sorry, 2015 through 2017. The research findings, data from the NVDRS indicates that the first responders made up 1% of all suicides from 2015 through 2017. It continues on. When broken down by response discipline, these first responder suicides occur among law enforcement officers 58%. Firefighters 21%, EMS providers 18%, and public safety telecommunications 2%. So compared to suicides of non-first responders, more first responders used a firearm as the method of injury, 69% versus 44% of the regular population, which is sad. And it also goes into, what's included in these things is also circumstances, right? Which is your intimate partner problems, job problems, physical health, mental health. And what kind of goes on in here too, at least that it talked about, was the stressors of our jobs and how it's wearing on people. And I don't think a lot of people, I want to say a lot of departments don't understand. Like you work in a busy department.
Yeah.
I'm in a busy city. It's not normal for people to see someone die traumatically. Yeah. Right.
They did not sleep for 3 days.
Right. Exactly. Get like 2 hours of sleep. Right. Yeah. And there's another article that I read. It said the average human being will, I'll say a civilian who's not in like the public service sector will maybe see 2 traumatic deaths in their lifetime. Right. We see it every day we go to work.
Every day.
Every freaking day. Right. And it's sad to read this statistic and know that the police are higher, 58%.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another tough one, right? Because, gosh, we hear all the time, like, defund the police, whatever. I support our police. Yeah. We need law and order. It is what it is. I mean, you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime, right? But a lot of times our fellow, I want to say fellow, but our police brethren, they're going in first to crazy calls.
Yeah.
And they're dealing with people and they have to use their weapons at times. That's very traumatizing. And my thought is, how in the world do we combat this? Because to me, it's an epidemic.
For sure.
It's a huge epidemic because they sell this job. And this is not to say that our jobs are terrible. I'm very thankful for what we do. We have absolutely earned it. It's very tough to get in. It's tough to keep your job, going through probation, getting through the physical fitness, backgrounds. I mean, there's so much to it. But they advertise it as it's the best job in the world.
Right.
Oh my gosh, look at all these days off you get. My dad always says, oh, the benefits, your retirement, good pay. Oh, look at all that overtime. And to them, I just wear a cool uniform and ride around in a nice shiny red fire engine. Right. It's like you have no idea what we deal with
for sure, dude.
On a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah.
I've actually had to have to talk to my parents. I'm like, hey, when I come over, I don't want to talk about work.
Yeah.
I really don't. You guys, there's no way for me to explain the things that I see and go through to you guys because you just, oh, how's work? It's fun and great. It's like, yeah, I guess.
Well, things have changed, man. Like, it's so fucking busy right now.
Everywhere.
It's not the same how it was in the 90s. You know what I mean? The population has increased tremendously. And to be in such a highly densely populated area, and there's a lack of education, and then the medical system's completely erratically just crumbling right now underneath, right before us. You know what I mean? And there's really a hard way to explain this to people, but it's not the same how it was 10, 20 years ago. It's not. And what's powerful about this issue about suicide is going through it, right? We talked about that. And it's like the only way to address it is going to it straight face to face, toe to toe. Yeah. And so just in a general concept, like going into it, if someone does, let's say, firefighter, police officer, first responder, whatever, makes that decision, and they are usually the silent ones, the ones who are not erratic. Those are the ones who are really, really actually going to do it, and that's what happens. And they call that suffering in silence. And it happens because there is, from my perspective, to make that decision is really the power of choice. And you kind of have to honor that in a sense too. And the second part is like, a lot of it is like, in my personal understanding is that there's a lot of unprocessed trauma. Yeah. From childhood, from anything that could have been done. Like even with men, we're seeing men and 1 out of 3 have been sexually assaulted once in their life. Wow. And never talk about it, take it to their grave. Wow. And it's an epidemic because of these things prior that are the precursors. Childhood trauma is huge. If no one addresses it, you're talking, doing therapy and you avoid it and, doing all these things, a lot of that sticks deep in the subconscious. Yeah. And that to me, let's add more call volume to your plate. Let's add a divorce to your plate. Let's add you not sleeping for 3 days and you're burnt out, you're apathetic and you can't feel anymore. And you've been drinking the last 20 years. Yeah. Now that's an appetite for destruction right there. And that's what we're seeing is happening to do this great work, to focus on yourself is really, people don't do it, man, because it takes work, Yeah. And it's, in my opinion, there's not one word answer for this solution. There's 2 things though that is beneficial. One of them is you have to take responsibility for yourself and you have to do your own work. Yeah. No one else can do that for you. You have to meet someone in the middle. It takes 2 to tango. The second part is unity, and unifying the collective as a whole as well, not just our departments, but, humanity. And humanity is polarized. You can see it, dude. And we're all struggling to struggle. Like, what the fuck? Why? Yes. And when you push, you pull. And it's just like, it's a constant ebb and flow between the masses. And the only way I could say you can do some difference is doing that inner work on yourself. Because if you change, the people around you will see it and they want to change. Yeah. And it makes this ripple effect within like the quantum field or through metaphysics, as you can say that, it's like this decision of like, everything's relative. You know, if something's changing, you know, that person's going to want to see like, hey, what are you doing, man? Are you doing Kambo, whatever? I don't know. You stop drinking? Like, cool. I want to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the old paradigm of how we used to do things, you know, is like these old Vietnam vets would come and they'd go get a job as a fireman because that's the job that they'd want to do. And then like, you know, their PTSD ended up in a Jack Daniels bottle, you know what I mean? And that was like, that was okay.
Yeah.
And now it's not. It's just, this is not okay.
Yeah.
It's not how you treat it, man. And then to have a one-word answer, you can't have, there's no one-word answer to this. But what I can say is that there are multiple answers, and there are powerful medicines out there that are not talked about, like these entheogens, these classes of medications or medicines that can help you. There's also these different studies like psilocybin and ketamine. I was just talking to a gentleman the other day at a clinic where, you know, people who have suicide ideation, they go do ketamine and they come back not having those ideations ever again. Yeah. It's kind of like clearing a hard drive of your brain. And I did a series of treatments at this clinic because it helps TBI stuff. And I did, it was really fascinating. You know, I had like some really strange thought patterns get cleared through my hard drive, you know, and it's like interesting to talk to this guy and how he's been really pushing this. And the studies are there. It's valid to talk about how these clinics can be really beneficial, especially if you're struggling with suicide ideation. And they want to help firefighters and first responders. Really crazy shit, man.
But you got to want that help.
Right. That's why I said it takes two to tango.
Yeah, you got to want that help. And man, it is tough. It is tough to take a hard look at yourself and say, you know what, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, and I went for years. Now I'm fine, bury it. And it is indicative of our job. And we go to a call, we run it, we get back on, get ready for the next one. Then you run another one and another one and another one, and you keep going. And it's like 7 a.m. comes, or whatever time your shift changes. All right, go home and be a father, husband, son, and be normal. And you're just like, yo, dude, I just saw some gnarly shit. Like, what? Right. It's crazy. But for me, I have a therapist that I see. It's telecommunication or whatever. We do like Zoom now, but it's been the most beneficial thing for me to get that third party in to talk and be, you know, you're fine. Like, how you feel is appropriate, but yes, this is what we need to work on. Here's what we're going to do to work with your PTSD and get these thoughts out of your head and go from here. And that's why I try to really encourage a lot of friends and personnel. It's okay to say you need help. Yeah. It doesn't make you look weak. It doesn't make you look weird. You're human. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of these emotions in us to process anger, pain, doubt, you know, dissatisfaction, hurt, you know, everything you can think of. But it's like we're trained to push that down because we need to be that pillar on the call, or at least in the community. Because if we're losing our minds on the call, everything's going to go crazy, right? If we're not doing what we're supposed to do. But then I started realizing I was doing that in my personal life. I was just pushing everything down. I don't want to talk about, no, we're fine. I don't want to talk about it. And you start realizing, it's like you said, right? You're pushing down all this trauma, and then going to therapy, realizing I had other trauma I need to deal with. And I remember my therapist was like, what we're going to do is we're not going to start with what's happening now. We're going to go all the way to the beginning. Just like you said, we're going to go to your childhood first, you know, and that takes a deep dive, and that's hard. Yeah. It was very emotional. It was very, very deep, very difficult. And I remember getting through some of those sessions, and I'm like tired for the rest of the day, but it also felt so good. Yeah. You know, doing EMDR, brain spotting, and also finally I remember telling the therapist Kambo, she was like, yes, keep going, keep doing what you got to do. Yeah, it was really cool. And I just really don't want this to be taboo anymore. I want, you know, our first responders to step up and speak up and say, yeah, I need help. Yeah. I need something. At least in my department where I'm at, which is really cool, is we have free services. Yeah. It's completely free, as much as you need. Just go. All you do is dial this number, tell them your name, who you work for. It's done, dude. And I think I had a phone call in like an hour. They're on it, which is cool. Now, do all departments do it? I don't know.
Yeah, you can even stack your treatments too, man. Like you can do therapy, and so that therapy is cool. I have a therapist, and you know she's great. But in the end, you know, I feel like she kind of kind of picks at the boulder with a toothpick in a way.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like once a week, and it gets you going somewhere. And she is a soundboard. I like to have that as like my closure for the week of how I've worked on myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, to integrate my life. But my practices are what counts, and my practices always change. And that's kind of like, the expression that, you know, there's not one word answer to this. You know, it's like our bodies are multidimensional, different planes of consciousness as well. It's like there's not just one answer. You know, you have your mental body, your emotional body, your physical body, your astral body, your spiritual body. You know, you got to tune to those as much as you can. But if you can do certain things, like my practices come from like, they change from sauna to cold plunge, and I'll switch them up, you know?
Yeah.
But it makes me centered and balanced. And if I stick to doing those things, I anchor in with myself. It really gives me the ability kind of find that place with myself to reevaluate. I'm not on my phone. I'm in a place to just sit and do nothing, you know, and it's my forms of meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation doesn't have to be so, I guess, sacramental, the way you're seeing like a Buddhist sitting like for hours, right?
Right.
You know, they do that for a reason. But if you ask a Buddhist, what is meditation? They say it's sitting down doing nothing. So they don't say it's like this idea, like you're going through this, you know, I don't know, prayers or anything like that. You can, but they say just, it's a moment to have your thoughts come into this space where it's empty finally.
Yeah.
Cause that's not normal to have constant thoughts all the time. You're supposed to have a moment to have silence, and then you're able to finally have clarity. So I do a lot of my practices to have that, you know, and it always changes. But if I could give people advice, you know, with behavioral health stuff, is finding a practice that really gives you a moment to really honor yourself for that moment. And it can be simple, you know, and it can be like the other day I just sat down in silence for like 15 minutes to watch my cats, just watch them like play. And I was just like, dude, this is super cool.
That's awesome, dude.
But it's just like, it's super funny to just sit there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Well, you know, that's another really good point. I knew I had an issue because I couldn't sit in quiet because I couldn't deal with myself. My thoughts would go back like, remember when you did this? Remember this? You know, you're just like, oh God. So you put music on, you're trying to stay busy, you're doing stuff. Yeah. And I realized that's where I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. I can't even sit in silence without having to move because I can't stand myself. Yeah. No, there's a problem. And you know, a place, I've said it on here quite a few times, but man, the ocean has been such
it's powerful, dude.
Huge form of therapy for me, because being grounded barefoot in the sand, holding the surfboard, and a lot of times when I go surf, I've been doing it since I was 8. I would go to the main peak, right, where all the guys are at, and you're fighting for waves and stuff. Now I'm like off to the side. I'll take the smaller ones on the side and be with like maybe 2 or 3 surfers. But most of the time I'm surfing, I'm by myself in silence, and it's beautiful. Yeah. I feel 1,000% better as soon as I get out of the water. It's like you said, right? I don't have my cell phone around. There's no music. I'm not having to, you know, make decisions. I can sit out there and finally just, it's almost like I can be myself, man. I don't have to have this guard up. I can just relax and do my thing. And then being, you know, figuring out the timing with the waves and the ocean. It's almost like you're being one with the water and figuring out how you're going to flow through it, man. And just riding the wave. Every time I'm smiling. It's such a good time, dude. And I used to, you know, people will cut you off. I used to yell, hey. Now people cut me off. I'm like, whatever, dude. We'll share it. I don't care.
Yeah, so scientifically, the ocean has this, there's an ion exchange happening with your body. So because of the salt water, there is like this positive, negative influence where it actually will cleanse the bioelectrical field. So we talked about that earlier, right? Like you have this bioelectrical field, and, you know, just by being around, you know, EMF all the time, and like your cell phone's in your pocket, you know what I mean? It's causing this disturbance. So, but the ocean's really good at cleaning that. And it's been proven by taking a photo of someone before and after they go into the ocean. It's almost like triple the effect. That's why you feel really good going into the ocean because of that reason.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm out there.
I go in the ocean all the time.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up going to the ocean, and I do like water workouts too.
Okay. Like, are you talking like swimming or?
Yeah, I do like, I tread water for like 15, 20 minutes. Cool. Go take some rest, and then, you know, go for a walk or whatever, go back in the water and do the same thing again. Yeah. It's a great way to just be connected. You know, and that's like a key term. Like we've always lost connection to the earth, and like it's a part of the medicine is connecting to it, and like really honoring this planet. We really lost touch with that. And
I agree.
The last, I'd say 10 years, I've just read so many different books from so many different, traditional tribes and how they treat things, and they treat things so differently. They treat it with a lot of respect. And that's why they treat each other with respect. Because they know how important it is that there's an intricate part to all this, that we are all connected to one another in some weird way, but we all play a part importantly in the tribes or inside this vast array of this planet, and we have disturbingly disrespected that. And the elements are really powerful, you know what I mean? And it's just, it's sad that we just don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the sickness within humanity, is that we've just lost touch with that.
Absolutely.
It's just really sad, dude. I just don't understand. And it took me a while to really even value that or put more attention on it until I read like this book called the Aboriginal Man, these Aboriginals who lived in the desert, like how did these guys survive?
Yeah.
And they were desecrated from their land, and they were forced to go in the middle of the desert, but these people were like these amazing people where they like have these written documented events where they would like disappear, like just right in front of someone or something like that. Wow. And pretty interestingly enough, like these people, they just they are able to survive in the desert because they're connected to it, and no one else knows why, but only these tribes do. Super powerful stuff. But
that's interesting. What's that book called?
It's called The Aboriginal Man.
Now the Aborigines, that's Australia, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Boy, they went through.
There's a genocide, dude.
Oh, totally.
They killed them off.
A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that story, man.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll have to check that book out, dude.
That's a good one, man.
Now you've kind of gone to classes through your department for mental health.
Yeah, so
I kind of saw some stuff you guys are posting on social media, which I thought was freaking awesome.
Yeah, Trevor and myself, Trevor's my co-host of my podcast, and him and I did the peer support group training.
That's what it was. Okay.
And the peer support group training it's a list of people who come and support, any type of incident that may have occurred that's pretty intense, and it was a really powerful training, and a lot of the people there, you could tell they want to have some type of change, because a lot of people would do that training as a means to kind of add it to their portfolio so they can promote.
Yeah.
This was not that.
Okay.
This group of people that showed up there, they all had some type of experience where they've lost a loved one. They've had a really significant change in their life that they were forced to change.
Yeah.
Circumstances came up, they were like, hey, I want to support people because I've been down in the muck, in the shadows of myself, in the darkness, and I'm able to find that light, and I want to show others that light. That's basically, why everyone was there.
That's really cool. So it was you and it's Trevor, right?
Yeah.
Your code. Still haven't met him yet. We've texted sometimes, but I'm a huge support of what you guys are doing. And I think is your podcast again is Grab Lives podcast, right? Is that solely about mental health?
Yeah. I mean, it's the entirety of the whole. I mean, there's different pieces to it. It was like, regular health, gut health is important,
Yeah.
It's all these pieces of the puzzle we're putting together, to bring this awareness, and a lot of our conversations relate to that, but sometimes it can shift into like just humor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like talking, it doesn't have to be about behavioral health, but it ends up being about it because, our goal is to bring this, just better idea of how it doesn't have to be so complex. You know what I mean? We talk about our experiences, like one of the episodes I talked about like my intrusive thoughts, like some of the shit that would come up randomly. I'm like, dude, that intrusive thought was fucking crazy, man. How did that happen to me? You know what I mean? It's like,
I remember this.
And we're just being honest with ourselves, and I think a lot of people forgot how to do that.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, you're 100% correct. You really are. And what's really cool is we have to go into detail, but it really sounds like your department is supporting you guys with your podcast, which I think is fantastic. Like, please keep going. please keep doing what you guys are doing. Cause I think you're like me. Through the years now, I have such a huge heart for first responders. Yeah. And it's almost like you said that the people that went through that class, it's because we know what they're going through. We're experiencing it firsthand. We've got plenty of years on now. We understand the highs and lows of the job. And then what we have to deal with in our personal lives. Sometimes we take that home, and we want to show people that there's hope. Yeah. Hope is huge. We had a full podcast on hope just in itself and how far that can take you to let you know that, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Is it going to be difficult? Fuck yeah. It's hard. Yeah. You're going to have to take a deep dive into yourself and figure out who you are and why you're processing things the way you are, and bring that to light. Talk about it. Have those tough conversations. And fortunately, some people don't want to have them because, it gets a little ugly and it's tough. And I always say this too, be careful who you have the conversations with, because I've made that mistake and talked to people, and next thing you know, freaking they're telling other people, and dude, I heard you're freaking crazy. You're just like, no, man, like what the heck, dude?
Yeah, you got to choose your audience, man. I mean, when I'm at work, like the biggest joke is like, making some reference to a frog at the dinner table or whatever.
Right. I would admit, of course.
It's funny, it is hilarious because it is strange, you know what I mean? But, and then on the side, they'd be like, hey man, can I go to some Kambo? Mm-hmm. It's hilarious. But yeah, dude, it's an honor to step into this place of having a platform and being vulnerable and being sovereign with ourselves to just discuss, our inner world and expressing it to everyone else in order to see that everyone's really similar. You know what I mean? We all have some type of suffering in ourselves. And why is it that we choose suffering instead of having a life of bliss and wonder? And it's and we're willing to admit that it's just not easy, man. And there's not one answer. It's a very complex situation. But by the same token, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope, and then when people lose that hope and they choose something different, that's when I also can't get caught up and take blame for that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The reason why we started this podcast was because of a suicide. And it was that person became the martyr, kind of like this Christ consciousness of creating this ripple effect to start something, and it's just, I think that 1 year anniversary is coming up for that person.
Oh, very recent.
Yes. Okay. And we've been seeing a lot more recently, some serious issues come up in our department, and it's happening, nationwide. And all of the distractions that have been coming up with, if you watch the news or whatever, it's like, this is the real stuff here, man. Yeah. The mental health is just the fact that, there's a lot of fear involved and a lot of, I don't know, man. It's just wild stuff. So it's really important to anchor in right now more than ever. Yeah. And find your beloved friends and family around you to support you, because that's the number one thing that really helps. Part of my medicine is my family,
Dude. That's yes.
It's just and some of those family are chosen, like really dear friends of mine. And, it's just, that is seriously important to have that within your arm's reach. And, one of our biggest, things we had set up was like, take a second, call someone who who's a firefighter, a police officer, a veteran, just let them know that you appreciate them. And it's really powerful when you receive that text message. It's like when I'm talking to my mom, or I'm talking to someone, I'm getting a text message from my mom, like, she's like, hey, I love you. Thank you for your work. You do a really hard job.
Dude, doesn't that feel good?
It feels great, man.
You can't put a price tag on that. And it's a simple text.
Man. So, we really started that movement, and, if we could really instill like how hard it is to just like do this job, and those words are really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always noticed when I'm, I cut my family off for a while, and I remember I started getting real secluded. I wasn't doing the things I normally do as far as mountain biking, skydiving, and, I'm like outdoor guy. I'm just always doing something. And I started not having the drive to do that anymore. You kind of feel like you just feel the walls kind of coming in, and when you bring up family, it's so important. And like you said, it doesn't have to be like blood. Like our podcast crew, dude, we become so tight. Yeah. We are just, I love those guys, man. And those are my dudes that I can spill my guts out to and tell them anything, and it stays there. And we're there for each other, and a couple of them, we've gone through stuff over the past year separately, each one of us, and we throw it in our group text, dude, and immediately it's like everyone's calling each other, what's going on? Hey, let's hang out. Let's do this. It's I can't put a price tag on it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
To feel that love from another human being, even just from honestly, for me, from another dude, right? Because the way I was raised, I love my dad, but he was a tough dude. Right. He was a Green Beret. He was in Vietnam. He was 20 plus years in Green Berets. He was just different. And I understand that now, but when you're growing up, you want to get that, like, I love you, or a hug you. It's more like, well, the men provide, you go to work and you come home, it's like, right. I need to spill my guts out here. I need some validation, some certain things, and it's just not there. So for me to have these men in my life that I can talk to and be open with and say, hey, like, I'm struggling with this. Or I had this call that we went through and it sucked. Or, dude, this just happened in my private life and I'm wrecked. I need to talk to somebody. I need something. Dude, they show up. I mean, I would say probably not a lot of people have that. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm so thankful for it. And it's something you have to cultivate, you know. Yeah. You want to keep them close, like you said. It's huge, man. And
it could always change, you know, like your tribe is always changing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just, you have to be adaptable to change. And people, you know, start having kids and stuff. I happened to like a group of friends of mine, you know, they all got busy, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it is cool to have, you know, multiple groups of people you can rely on, and those people you want to keep around the most. And what's important too is to try to have like a mentor. You know, it's really rad to have, especially like male mentors. You know, I have a couple, you know, I can call who've they've been around, you know, with life experiences. And I don't really care for your diploma. I really care about your life experience, you know, more than anything else, because that means a lot to me.
I agree with you on that. I really do, man. There's people I've talked to, same. I have a couple people I look up to and chat with, and they don't have any special degree, but man, they got some life experiences. And when I say life experience, I mean, they've made some bad decisions,
right?
You know, and they've paid the price, but gosh, they've risen from the ashes, right? They've done the hard work and realized, I don't want to do that again. You know, I'm living with this. You know, I made these bad decisions because of this, but here's where I came out because it changed. Yeah. You know, I did the hard work, and it's difficult, man. It really is. So to have that, I was reading I think it was a few months ago. It somehow popped up on a feed, but it was talking about adults, and it was like from age 20 to like 30, the amount of close friends you have. It's like, I don't know, maybe I might be speaking off here because I can't really remember, but it was like 10. But when you hit 30, and
it goes down to like 3, dude.
Yeah, it's like 2 to 3, and then when you hit 40, it's like 1.
Yeah,
you know. So to know that you know, I can have this amount of people around me that I can talk to. Even you, man. I mean, what you've done for me has been huge, right? And I totally forgot we went to high school together at some point.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
elementary school.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And now we're in the both same career, but we're able to reconnect.
And I was in the Wildland Fire Academy.
That's right. Yeah,
mentoring me in.
Yeah. So it's cool.
Tell me to do push-ups and shit.
Oh, dude. Well, that's for a purpose. Look at you now, man.
That's it, dude. I'll do the push-ups, no big deal.
But yeah, it's like we get to have these friendships, you know, and there's such a deep connection, and I wish more people could have that.
Yeah.
Reality is probably not, but I try to encourage people, man. You gotta find, like you said, that tribe, those people. And I've had friends where I've tried to depend on them, and then the tough times come, they freaking disappear, and you're like, yo, what the fuck? What happened?
Right.
And then they show up a year later, and you're just like, nah, dude, you're done. Like I don't need a boomerang person coming in and out. I need someone who's gonna be with me through the thick and thin.
Yeah.
You know, and it's true. It's a very small amount of people that can really do that. But dude, what you and Trevor are doing, please keep going. I want to encourage you guys, like, keep going, because there's highs and lows in podcasting, as you guys have probably already noticed, dude.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's been a challenge, and if I get caught up in my own self-righteousness, you know, with a heart-based project, I can't, you know, and that's when I have to take a step back and just let this thing run its course. You know, I think it's already created itself an own entity. It's got legs, it's got arms, it's crawling around, it's going different places. I kind of just got to trust it, and that's the way I'm seeing it, you know. And I think, you know, if I lead this project, you know, with my heart and having my intention in the right places, it's going to go somewhere. And you know, Trevor and I had really, you know, set that in place when we first started this podcast. You know, it wasn't about ourselves. You know, it was about really helping other people, and it was and it's only through our own mirroring of ourselves to others, you know. And like, that's the only way we're doing it, you know. And you know, the ups and downs with the podcast, it's all like the technical logistical bullshit, you know what I mean?
Dude, it is. It's only
the rest of it is cool, man. You know, it's just like talking and expressing ourselves. And Trevor's he's just a really, really good friend. I mean, he's a brother to me, you know. And we've gone to Costa Rica together, and I've seen him grow in so many different ways. And we both knew each other when we were single. We, you know, kind of lived this different lifestyle. We both went through our circumstances at the same time. Yeah. That upheaval we had, it was seriously around the same time for one of us or for both of us. And now, we've just really transformed and evolutionized our lives, and it was really cool to have a partner who can really support me and I can support him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the biggest thing with like that word, like support, the way we see it is like, if you're teaching a toddler how to swim, right? You can't do it for them. You have to have almost like your arms are underneath the water as they're learning how to swim. They have their floaties and everything, and they're figuring it out on their own. And that's like that true support, and if they fall, you're going to catch them so they don't drown.
Right.
It's how we kind of see like supporting others. And even in Kambo, I support everyone to do their process, but they got to get through it,
Yeah.
And I've done so much Kambo that I know what's going on, and I know in my heart that that's the process, and I can't do it for you. You got to do it yourself. And that's where we're back again. You got to do the work. If you don't do the work, if you don't want to do it, if you want to get a prescription of Xanax and Prozac and pain meds, you're just going to numb yourself into oblivion, and you're not going to really get the point. These lessons that come to us in life, they repeat themselves until you get the point or get the answer. That's just how it works, Yeah,
as my dad says, you learn or, hey, you take another lap. That's what he'd always tell me, dude.
I love that.
Yeah, he told me that all the time as a kid and like through teenage years, and now as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, I get it. It's like you learn or you're going to take another lap, you're going to go through it again. Dude. You and Trevor, you guys will never know the amount of lives you're going to touch through your platform, your podcast. If it gets, my thought is like, who knows where the podcast could go? I hope all my friends doing podcasts, it just blows up one day, right?
Yeah.
Then you can do it for a living. We don't have to go to freaking work anymore. We can just focus on this. But if it doesn't, it's cool because again, you're not going to know the lives you're touching.
Yeah.
But not everyone's going to reach out and tell you, hey, what you said on episode 26 at this point,
right.
Dude, that hit home for me. I don't get it sometimes, but I would tell you I got a message from a dude in Ireland.
Man.
Yeah, it was wild, right? He's like, hey, I just want to reach out and let you guys know. I don't even know how I found the podcast, but I listened to this episode and he's pretty much saying it was impactful and it helped him and it got him to like rethink a few things. And so like when you get those messages, it's cool because there's times you're like, God dang, like do people like this sometimes? I'm not getting any response from people like not like personally, you can see the downloads, which is great, but you want feedback sometimes,
right.
And to, when I got that message, dude, I was like, oh wow, we're doing something right. So for you guys, I mean, the topics that you're talking about and how deep you go, because you both are very deep humans. I listen to you guys.
Yeah.
You're doing a good thing. Guys, I want to say you're doing a great thing. And even those times where the technical stuff becomes a pain in the ass, because I know firsthand, my friend, we started on a plastic table and now we got a whole freaking studio going, but you have no idea. I would say you probably won't know until the day you die. Meet your maker and you see there and you'll be like, dude, you helped this. And the cool part is it's like that one person that was impacted by something you guys said because you're open and you're real. And that's what a lot of people tell us is like, I was nervous doing this podcast a lot of times because I get very open on here. I typically don't open up to everybody just on the street and talk, but on here I'm very open. And there's been a few people like, hey, like that was huge what you said. I had no idea you struggled with that.
Openness is probably one of the hardest things for people, and like the way I see openness is like it was one of the hardest things for me to do in order for me to find this process of evolution for myself. And the moment I did that is when a lot of abundance came through. And like abundance comes up in so many different ways, man. It's not money, it's not things, it's experiences and people. And with openness, there's like this process of unfolding. Yeah. And the way you can see unfolding in its unlimited form is that if you like take the idea of like origami, right? Like you're making like these, let's make a giraffe out of the small piece of paper. But if you unfold it, you can see that all those belief systems, those conditionings that created that piece in the first place, that giraffe, you can unfold it and rebuild something else if you want. That's a process of openness. And if you can do that, it takes a lot of work and guts, but it's also a space to be unlimited with. You can make anything or become anything you want. But those creases can be pretty deep, and you got to flatten it on the table to help build something new.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man, openness is definitely one of those things, man. And
it's a beautiful thing because at least I always refer back to our profession because it's my craft. It's what we do.
Yeah.
You know, but in the firehouse, really, you're not. I've never seen guys get super deep and open and be very raw with each other. You know, and have being.
We're joking around, grabbing ass the entire time.
Dude, all day, right?
Like,
Like, what are you doing, pussy? Like, what are you crying for? You know, it's like
I don't talk about any of this shit at the fire station.
No.
Dude. I'm going to lose everyone immediately.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly. But to hear guys I know that firefighters listen, and then, you know, they start saying, oh my God, like, dude, I didn't know you went through that, or you struggle with this.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm struggling with, and I went through the same thing, you know? And so it's turned to something pretty, you know, in a way that's very beautiful, where people are connecting. And, you know, sometimes it's a little nervous because you're being very open and very raw, but we're human, man.
Yeah.
Like, like you said, struggle. Everyone's struggling with
Struggle
something
bus,
dark,
baby.
dude.
The struggle bus is real.
Yeah, totally. So I hope you guys just, you know, through the highs and lows of podcasts, and keep freaking going, dude.
Yeah, we have these new things we started doing just in reference to like the fire service, because we, especially in our department, we do these things called drills. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you guys do the same thing. When you're a rookie or a probationary member, or you get certified on an apparatus, a ladder truck, or an engine, you're doing a fucking drill. So
in front of everybody,
right? In front of an audience of people who've already done these drills, right? And so it's like you're going into a house explaining to these people about where everything is inside this house when they've been living in that house for 30 years. It's like, okay, but these drills we're setting up now is like these tidbits of like 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes on something, because podcasts can be pretty long, right? Like, you know, an hour or 2 hours, and we all know we don't have the time for that sometimes.
Right.
So,
listen to like sections.
Right, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm honest about that. You know, I can't listen to a whole podcast sometimes. I'm doing it within sections, you know, but these shorts are really cool to kind of bring in a little bit more detail about something that's been brought up in an episode or whatever. Yeah. And it's been kind of cool. We've been setting that up recently. So
that's cool.
Yeah, man.
That's really cool, man. No, I'm proud of you guys. And I think you might have told me this before, but you guys are going to more of these peer support classes too, right?
Yeah.
More coming up.
I'm going off on in October to a convention in San Diego. The union had set it up, and it'd be really cool to go down there and, you know, meet some cool people and really see, you know, what type of support is out there, because the International Association of Firefighters, they, you know, have these things that are set up, and it's a lot of them are ran also by like the Coast Guard and all these things, and they have these beautiful thing that's set up to help each other, you know. So I would like to also be knocking down on some doors to like get some better answers, you know.
I like that.
That's kind of like who I am. I'm always been more of like an anarchist, punk rock person, you know. That's why this podcast is the way it is, because Trevor and myself are having more of that mentality. It's more pushing the buttons to get more of a better response than the old mundane bullshit we've been seeing, you know. Right. The stuff that's not helping, you know what I mean? Yeah. There has to be a change, and the only way it's got to change is like, you know, the image of like Martin Luther King walking down the streets where like, you know, people are getting fucking murdered. We're tired of it. We want to like, you know, rise up against it. Yeah. Yeah. It's the only way you're going to get an answer.
Dude, I like it, man. So, you know, I've been working behind the scenes quite extensively. Stephen Clark has been helping me with this. But I've had this huge push to do an event called First Responders Night of Hope.
Oh, I heard about this. You told me about it.
Yeah, dog. It's been coming together really good.
Cool.
Really, really good. And we're getting pretty good backing. And it'd be good to have you there.
Yeah, he told me about the dates. It's like November or something like that, right?
Tentatively, it's probably going to get pushed to next year.
Okay.
Because I told him, hey, look, we're not in a rush. I want everything set in place so it works out seamlessly and works really well. Because it's actually a big undertaking.
Because you're singing, right?
I will be doing the concert. Yeah, dog.
That's what he said,
yeah, we got professional musicians. Yeah. Things are coming together good. It's just there's a lot of moving parts. This is my first time. It's like a shot in the dark to do an event like this, right? Mm. We're hoping, you know, we got a venue that's about 500 seats, 500, and you know, to get the logistics, have everyone on board, the band. You know, how are we going to advertise this? The foundation's going to the Iverson Foundation. Her husband was Cal Fire engineer who was killed on fire, I think, 2017 or 16. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Her name is Ashley Iverson.
I thought you meant like Allen Iverson.
No, Ashley Iverson. Yeah. No, she's a sweetheart. You know, when he was unfortunately killed, they just had a child. They have like 2 kids. And so, you know, she started her own foundation for firefighter mental health, which is now kind of turning into first responder mental health. She's got huge organizations that back her now, and she's on board. All of it's going to be going to that foundation so she can help support first responders.
Just do it in November, man.
Ooh.
Come on.
Logistics, dog. Logistics
what are the logistics? Are you gotta...
It's like venue stuff, and then also securing funds, because it's not free.
Damn, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, dude. It's quite, because you're talking like sound engineer, a lighting rig, paying for the musicians, the building.
Set up a fundraiser, man. Dude, fill the boot.
Yeah, fill the boot. Well, we got a few nonprofits that are I have a meeting tomorrow and one on Thursday that everyone's kind of starting to come on board. So it's coming together good. I think it'd be cool to have you there. I think it'd be pretty awesome, dude.
If it's next year, you got to hit me up. Like,
oh yeah,
we'll see.
Oh well, I'll let you know.
But yeah,
probably maybe even January is what we're looking at, possibly.
Cool.
Just because we want to do November, but it's also getting close to the holidays. But
yeah, I get that done.
Yeah, dude. It's like I said, it's the biggest undertaking I've taken on. Just as far as trying to put on an event, I didn't realize like it's a lot. It's a lot, dude. It's crazy, but I think it's a good thing, because it's about our people.
Yeah.
You know, it's open for everybody, but that night's gonna be about our people, and it should be pretty good, dude. So I'm excited about it, man. I think you should be there.
Yeah, of course. I'm always open to it.
I think it'd be beautiful, man.
To these events and supporting. You know, it's like I didn't see myself to be in this position that I'm in now these days, man. Because I just I don't know. I'm really happy I'm even able to go back to work these days and show up, and I'm just really grateful, man. And it just really makes me happy that, you know, this path and supporting everyone in this type of work with preventing the suffering for all. You know, it's interesting. You know, it's becoming a place of humility that has truly brought me to understanding that it's not about me, you know, and my own self-righteousness. It's about everyone else, you know. And but our stories, when they're told, they can really make volume, you know. And when you listen and hearing, you know, so many different people's stories on the upheaval they've had, it's like, man, we've all done it and been through it, you know. And it's great to bring all of those people together. So it'd be really rad, man. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I always tell people, because I have my faith, dude. Do I go to church every Sunday? No. Do I still tell dirty jokes? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still throw out cuss words every now and then, but where my faith has gone and how deep it has become through my own digging in of self and realization has been huge. And realizing it is about people, like you said. Yeah. You know, I always say, love, grace, and forgiveness, man. Mm-hmm. Just be there for people, dude. And I just want our people, our first responders, to know, like, you're not alone, man. Like, you don't have to hide in the shadows with these issues. There's a lot of us that have been through it and are still going through it, that we can do this together. We can get through it, man. Yeah, we had an episode on shadow work and describing what that is. You know, a lot of people don't understand that word, shadow, or what that means. You know, and it's just like a piece of you that's with you, and it wants to make itself known. And like Carl Jung, who was like this famous psychologist, had stated, you know, it's like unless you go through the shadows of yourself, you never find your true self, and people avoid it. And until some type of situation occurs, that's when the shadow comes up and it's knocking on your door. Yeah. So to do that work, the shadow work is like where it's at, baby. It is fucking hard and it sucks. But you know what? In the end, you're able to see yourself clear. You know, it's like this famous saying is like, in the midst of fog, it's important just to stay still and wait for it to pass. Ooh, my man. That was good. That was good. But that's the kind of like the way the shadow works, you know, it presents itself to you, because it's just like, it just wants to peek in, you know. We use this beautiful analogy with Peter Pan, how he's always fighting his shadow and all this shit. So yeah, man, shadow works. It's rough. God, my man, Jon. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Of course, dude. Again, dude. You live on the street. You don't live too far, man. I know. You're going to be on quite a few more times. Yeah, we got to get Trevor on here, man. I reached out to him. He's just so busy, man. So hoping to get on here, and I'd love to have. We can have both you guys on at the same time. Him, I mean, whatever you guys want to do. Whenever, I know he's busy, but both of you have open seat here anytime. We're in full support of your podcast. Whatever you guys need, you let us know. It's a beautiful thing that you guys are doing. It's
it is making a difference, and it's going to continue to make a difference. So thank you for coming on again and being so open and talking about everything. It's huge. And I hope people will get something from this, man, that there's hope, there's a way out. And any day above the dirt's a good day, no matter how bad it gets, man. That's one thing I've learned. Life can get tough, and I've had some pretty terrible days, but it's gotten good.
Yeah, and like in reference to like Suicide Prevention Month, right? Like,
yeah,
we have to learn more about it and know, like, you know, how do we find ourselves in the midst of ending our lives and making that choice, you know, and there is always a way, you know, you don't have to make that decision. So, you know, we're not behavioral health specialists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's important to listen, because I've been through suicide ideation. I've seen it, been face to face with it.
Yeah.
And instead of fighting it, I sat with it, you know, to decide if it's my truth or not. Like, it ran true, didn't. And that's how I decided against it, you know. So sometimes you got to sit with things, instead of running away, because if you run away, if you push back, it's going to come back even stronger. So,
God, ain't that the truth, dude? Oh, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, dude. Jon, I love you, dude. You are a beautiful human being, my friend.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate
it, keep being you and do what you're doing, man. You inspire me like a son of a gun.
Thanks, dude.
So
appreciate your work, brother.
Yeah.
And all your help.
Oh, dude, anytime. Here for you guys. You just let me know, dude. We're gonna do Let's Go on 3. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. If you liked what you just listened to, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Please follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And a big shout out to Stephen Clark, our sound editor. He's a huge part of this team that is unseen. It's 89 Barbers, our first sponsor. Look good, feel good, be great. That's 2 locations, Orange, California, and Long Beach, California. Book your appointment online, 89barbers.com. Bye, everybody.